Hello model railroaders, I'm Dave. Welcome back to the layout, or as my wife calls it, the disaster area. She's either claiming I've got attention deficit disorder because I can't focus on one project, and she's teasing me that I've got horizontal surface cluttering disorder. I've got way too many projects on the go, and none of them involve running trains. So let me just give you an overview of what I've been trying to accomplish, and let's see if I can plug away at some of these projects and get some finality or closure to them. Ended up, because it was very cold until recently, I ended up having to set up a little work area down here with the drill and the vise so that I could work on my jaw crusher, my jaw rock crusher. And these are the rough plans that I was following, and I cannot recall the YouTube link. If I can find it again, I'll link it into the video in the description area. However, this is a screen capture I nabbed, and this is my prototype, I guess you will, where I've got some steel plate, and I was finally able to get someone to weld a plate onto a I think it's 1.5 inch black pipe, and I've got 1 inch black pipe inside it. I think I'm gonna have to take it apart and check it. Those pipe diameters slipped inside each other. I ended up drilling a hole for an oil port, and it's cammed, as you can see, so that as it rotates it will push the jaws together and hopefully crush some rock. However, this still needs some work. I need to get another pillow bearing to put on this side. They only had one in the store at Amazon at the time, and now that some of the stores are opening up due to the COVID issue, and hopefully everyone is well out there, you and your families. But things were a little lean of getting parts and doing things, so I've just done it in wood for the moment to allow me to template. Once I got something working, then I'll template the wood onto some 12 gauge steel and make the sides a little more rugged. In this example here, everything is welded together. Now, I did deviate from this where they've got a adjuster rod pushing this plate in and being able to adjust it in and out. And in my case, I've actually just made kind of a bearing, if you will, with some copper pipe here that this will push back on, and I'm just going to, as they've got here, there's a spring running across, and I've got some springs to try. I'll just put a hole down at the bottom and run it back to this bolt here just to keep the tension on there. The way I'm going to do my gapping is I'm going to move the fixed plate up and down so that it will make the gap at the moving plate, which will stay fixed at this plane, and you know, hopefully I can get some crush. But The right now I've got it set to, I don't know, probably about 1,000 micron, maybe somewhere between 1 and 2 millimeters. Though in my quick testing, I was just using a half-inch drill on the axle there, and the jaws, because they're smooth, when I'm dealing with this kind of flat planar crystal, it just pushes, I guess the crystal's too slick, and it just slides on the, as you can see, it's a very flat crystalline, and this is what I'm going to make my ballast out of. That's, sorry, I didn't mention that, or refresh your memory. This whole purpose is for me to be able to not have to pound down the rock by hand, is to feed it into a mechanical device, hence jaw rock crusher, to generate the ballast that I want to use rather than the Woodland Scenics ballast, which in previous videos I figured out the percentages, and using the sieve set there, the brass sieve set sitting there, I was able to figure out my percentages of what that is, so that I can crush up rock on my own, sieve it, and then mix those percentages together to come up with a oversized but more visually realistic ballast. Again, that's in some previous videos from last year. So this is still ongoing. For what I'm going to end up doing is taking this old cutoff disc that I've got that has been damaged, as you can see it there, up at the top here. I'm going to cut a square out of it, and I'm going to, I don't know if epoxy, but I'll at least use some spray adhesive or something just to put that on both plates. And I don't need a whole lot. I don't need the full plate coverage, because everything I'm going to be putting in there is probably going to be fairly small, so maybe about 3 or 4 inches off each side, if I can get that. It's more at the bottom where the jaws come together that the crushing action really happens to get it to the fine area as the jaw rotates around and comes closed and then down. So it's doing this kind of a motion and down to crush, and push the crush out the bottom. That's the plan anyway. So we'll revisit this in a future video. I'll try and get another pillow block in, pillow bearing, and get a motor. Ideally about 400 RPM when I was running the drill. That seemed a good speed. You don't want it too fast, because then it just will shake everything apart. You don't want it too slow, and you don't have enough momentum to keep the jaw rotating down and closed to crush. It'll jam. A secondary issue I had was the offset on this shaft. I just poured lead in the inner pipe to hold that shaft where I want it, and when something does jam down there in the jaws, the lead is insufficient to prevent the I guess the torque from overcoming the friction of this shaft on the lead, and it spins. So when I disassemble everything, I'm going to have to try and put some pins down through the shaft and out the inner steel pipe ring. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a welder. I did very briefly and was able to get that plate done, but that source is no longer available to me. So in previous other YouTube videos, they actually run weld beads vertically on both plates, or weld in some like 1/8 inch steel rod. But again, I don't have access to anyone that can weld, and I'm trying to do this on the cheap, as all model railroaders try and do. Make do with what you have and try not to spend any money. So that's kind of where this project is. Other projects, casting. I've got these plastic resin casting cleaned, and they're ready to be airbrushed. I've got these molds ready to have more of the smooth on smooth cast 310 mixed and poured into them. And I've got these UltraCal 30 castings predominantly cleaned up, ready for a primer coat to see how that adheres to the UltraCal 30 as well as to the plastic. And what I've got is I've got some white, some gray, and some black Vallejo surface primer, which I want to try, but haven't yet. Another project to add another, again, ADD as far as unfinished projects go regarding the layout. Some PVC sewage pipe, well, I guess sewage water, whatever you want to put through it, I guess. But sorry, ABS. I said PVC. It's ABS. ABS pipe couplers, and I can't remember where I saw the link to, but let me just grab a ruler. They somewhere on some forum that I was surfing, seeing what other people were doing for petroleum tanks or refinery tanks, and they said, well, the cheap way is to use the ABS couplers. So I bought one of the appropriate size. I believe this one's a 3-inch and the other one's a 4-inch, or that one's a 4 and that one's a 5 for OD, but for pipe diameter it'd be a 3.5 and a 4.5. So 3.5 and 4.5 OD pipe. The couplers for those, that based on some figuring I did, would be either large HO scale tanks, and trying to find those tanks on Walters, and they're actually bigger than this, but these will give me some really large N scale tanks. So that's 3.25, so we're 4 inches wide, 3.25 tall on the smaller one, and 5 inches diameter, I should say, and just under 4 inches tall. So they give a good impression of a very large tank. Now, what I also want to do is, as you can see, they're very flat looking on top, and I believe the tanks have a bit of a dome to them. So what I'm going to try, and it may be a complete fail, is to load the interior up with something that won't melt, that's very fine grain and heat the bottom of it, holding it up, and hopefully the glue doesn't break the seal between the covering, which is, I used 0.02 inch thick or 0.5 millimeter evergreen styrene sheet, and I just use that, and then use the Plastruct glue to glue them on. So we'll see if when it's heated up, if it will kind of stretch and dome out a bit, and then I have to clean the edges up, and then I'll surface primer them white, and because most of the tanks I've seen pictures of seem to be white, so that they're not absorbing heat from the sun, and see where that goes. And that's kind of what's been going on. I have not done anything with the layout itself. I haven't even ran trains in 3 months. I've just been puttering with various side projects and work, and I really wanted to, well, I had that opportunity for someone to weld that up. I kind of just dropped everything else and dived into the jaw rock crusher, and hopefully I can finish that up and gain some foothold while it's nice to be outside and generating dust, not in the house, and then get back onto the layout, finish the 2 sidings that I've got to do, 3 sidings I should say, that are still outstanding, and get back to running some trains and get rid of some of my horizontal surface cluttering disorder under control. As a new purchase for me since my last video quite a while ago was this rolling cart, and that will enable me to bring tools and stuff. As the layout gets more completed, you have less and less surface area on the top of the layout to lay your tools out. So that was on sale at our Princess Auto, I believe, which is, I guess, the equivalent of Harbor Freight in the States. And for the most part, I've made use of it. I've pulled a lot of stuff off the layout, various things, my sanding block, and I'll do another video on some of the little sanding hacks that I'm utilizing. But till the hopefully very soon next video, it's Dave, and hope everyone's healthy and still financially secure during all this COVID nonsense, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Bye for now.